Hello you beautiful human beings of the internet, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome to my channel. My name is Amy and in today's video I'm going to be talking about a few of the differences and changes that I have noticed in myself since partaking in a week of ayahuasca ceremonies in Costa Rica. Before I get into the video, I wanted to just kind of explain what you're going to see because otherwise it might appear a bit all over the show. So basically in my ceremony 4 video, I'd filmed a little bit about certain effects that I noticed since coming home from my trip. I filmed the previous videos in this series like 3 or 4 days after I got back, but since being back like 3 weeks now, I have noticed some more changes and stuff. So I was going to keep those effects that I talked about in that video as part of that video, but since editing and everything, I wanted to add more, so I thought I would just separate the videos and make a whole video about what I've noticed has changed so far. I kind of wanted to add to it because I've noticed some new things. I feel like it does take time for the experience to settle in and you to kind of start noticing changes about how you are, how you're feeling. It's not something that necessarily happens instantly, and for me it wasn't. So I feel like only since I've been back, like 3 weeks now, I am starting to notice more and more each day. So that's why I wanted to make this video, just to give you guys a little update. So you're gonna see me in my yellow jumper today in this video, but you're also gonna see me in my yellow beanie and my white t-shirt, which I was wearing in the previous videos because there are some clips from that video that I decided to put into this one. I know it's really confusing, but yeah, basically I'm going to be in 2 different outfits in this video because some of the things I talk about were stuff that I talked about a few weeks ago, and then now I'm going to add a few more things because I've noticed more, and I feel like now I can give you a bit more of an accurate picture as to how I'm feeling. It's a lot, isn't it? I know there's like, I think 6 parts of this video series, so by now you're probably like, okay, this is the final episode in this ayahuasca series and I do hope that you enjoy it. This is what I noticed a few weeks ago, and then after that you'll see what I have to add and what I'm feeling now. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you do, and if you've enjoyed this series. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Have you done ayahuasca? Are you thinking of doing it? Is it something you're scared to do? Like, I want to hear about it. I could literally talk about this topic for ages, and yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Let's do it. So I just wanted to refer to a couple of notes in my phone. I did write when I was on the plane back a few things that I feel like I took from this experience. Going back to my little phone notes, since ayahuasca I've been manifesting quite a lot. I have kind of learnt how to manifest in a sense of how to frame things and how to word things instead of coming from a place of lack and being like, oh, I would really like blah 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 blah. That's putting out a message into the universe that you're coming from a place of lack or a lack of hope, but instead you should word it like this is going to happen or this will happen, you know, where it's more of like an affirmation, like a confident affirmation. You're putting that out into the universe. This is really random, but I'll give you an example. On the way back on 2 of my flights, I said to myself, like, I will have empty seats next to me. I will have 2 empty seats next to me. And I was putting that out into the universe. And the weirdest thing happened, and I know a lot of you will say, Amy, that's a coincidence, but for me it felt like something greater than that. I ended up having empty seats next to me for pretty much all my flights except for 1. I just thought that was weird because that really doesn't happen every day, and that has not happened to me before. And on the flight most rows were full except like my row and like maybe 1 or 2 other rows in the whole plane. So I just thought that was really bizarre, and I felt like I manifested that, which was great because I got to like lie down and sprawl out on my long 15-hour flight home. So I feel like, yeah, I just feel like I'm able to manifest things easier. I've always believed in manifestation and the law of attraction, but now I feel it more on like a deeper level. So that's something random that I got that was unexpected. The next thing is my intuition and psychic instincts are quite strong. I feel like I'm much more connected with my gut feelings and my intuition. Like, this is a really random, non-meaningful example, but on the plane, they were saying like the menu for dinner, and I had this gut feeling, like before they mentioned dessert, I just had this gut feeling it was chocolate mousse. Like something told me in my head, like I heard the words chocolate mousse, and before I knew it, they said chocolate mousse. Like random, unmeaningful little example, but like just little things like that, where I just feel like I'll get a message and it'll be correct. I don't know. I feel like I've always been quite intuitive, but a lot of the time I feel like I haven't been in touch with that intuition, and I just feel more in touch with that now, and I feel like more connected to that, as if there's like less blocking me from actually connecting to my gut feelings and my intuition. So that's pretty cool. And then I guess the last one is just feeling like a greater trust in the universe and the timing of things. I mean, I've always stuck by this, and I've always felt that strongly, that there is a reason for everything, and I do have like a trust in the universe and that things will work out the way they're meant to. But it's like this deeper knowing now. Like it's like this deeper feeling of genuinely having this greater trust and feeling that things are working out the way they're meant to, and to trust the timing of everything and to not question things so much. I genuinely feel that a lot stronger now, and I feel more at peace with things and going with the flow as opposed to fighting things and resisting and being in my head as much. And lastly, I just feel calmer. Like I just feel, I don't know, I just feel a lot less anxious. I feel a lot less in my head. My thoughts aren't spiraling heaps. I'm sleeping better. I remember in my mental health videos, I was saying that when I was off my medication, I was taking hours to fall asleep, and because my thoughts were racing and racing. And at the moment, it's not really the case. I just feel more at peace in certain areas of my life, and sleep is one of them, and I just feel like there's less mind chatter and talking in my head. It's just more just letting it be and not even trying to, but it just feels quieter. It's been very noisy up here for a long time, and I just feel for the first time it's just chilled, it's quiet, it's peaceful, and I just have this knowing that things will work out, and to just trust the timing of things and just have this greater faith in life and in the universe, and trusting that things will work out the way they're meant to. And don't question things. You don't need to question things and waste your time trying to read into everything. You just need to trust. So weirdly enough, I do feel like that intention was met now that I've kind of just realized that talking and making this video, that Mother Ayahuasca has kind of taught me how to trust. And yes, it's subtle realization, and no, it's not dimension hopping and connecting with loved ones who'd passed on and healing and having all my childhood traumas come up and crying through them but healing them and coming out of the other side. It was not like that for me. Ayahuasca was very subtle, very gentle, and very blissful for me for the most part. And I know this is definitely a minority experience because most people do have much more intense experiences with ayahuasca, but maybe that's what I needed. And I'm really excited to continue working with this medicine. I really want to go and do more ceremonies and go deeper with the medicine. I think she was also getting to know me, maybe slower than with some other people. I will definitely keep you guys updated if I'm going to be doing ayahuasca again, which I will. I feel very strongly about it, that it is something that I'm going to continue working with, and I will keep you guys very updated and in the loop on any new realizations or any new progress that's being made, because I want to share this with you guys, and I would love to hear if you guys have done ayahuasca yourself. Do you feel called to it? Is it something you would ever do? Would you not do it? Do you think I'm crazy? Like, let me know down below your opinions. I would like to know. Obviously, be respectful, please. Hello, it's me again. I thought I would add to what I've just talked about. I mentioned feeling at peace and really calm within, and that is something that I have felt more so since time has gone on. I just feel really centered and grounded. I almost like to picture it as like a clock, and before I was like kind of like this, like ticking between like a 3 and a 9 and then 3 and 9. Like I was going between so many different emotions, and now I just feel like I'm at the 12 and I'm feeling really centered and grounded and just more still and in the same place, not so much like, not so flip-floppy. My mum was away in South Africa and she's back now, and she actually said that I am different in a good way, not in a bad way. She said I am a lot calmer, I'm less angry, I'm less frustrated and not as anxious, and she was like, you just seem a lot more at peace, which is definitely true. And I feel like it's so nice when you hear that from someone else, because it's not like just you internally. Obviously that's the most important thing, how you're feeling inside, but when someone else notices it, it makes it feel a little bit more real. You guys know my history with mental health. You know it's been a long struggle with anxiety and depression. I've never been shy or hidden that from you guys, and it feels really foreign for me not to experience anxiety and depression. And since doing ayahuasca, I have not felt anxious and I have not felt depressed at all. So it's been really weird for me, because I feel like those are emotions that have been part of my everyday life for a really long time, and for the first time in ages, I'm just not feeling that. It's very bizarre, isn't it? It's just a strange thing, and I can't even explain it. I know that ayahuasca affects your chemistry, like your brain chemistry, in regards to like dopamine and serotonin and stuff like that. So a lot of people have said it like resets your brain and changes the chemistry of it. So maybe that's happened, I'm not quite sure, but it's like I can't even if I try to make myself feel anxious by getting into like a thought spiral, it just doesn't happen. And it's so funny because as I've been editing the ceremony videos, I mentioned that I was really frustrated and I was confused and feeling as if I got nothing from the ceremonies, which at the time, it definitely felt like that. I felt really frustrated that I felt like I didn't really get much from the ceremonies. I didn't have a crazy, wild, full-on experience. I just didn't feel like I was deeply immersed in the medicine at all. But yeah, so I was really frustrated that I wasn't really getting much from the time there. But only now, weeks later that I've gotten home, have I started to see that a lot more has happened than I thought. I definitely would say that it affected me I feel different. I feel like my anxiety and my depression seem so foreign to me now, and I don't want to jinx it. I don't know if this is like a temporary thing or if this is going to be a long-lasting effect, but I can only speak of how I'm feeling now, and I'm just not experiencing any anxiety or depression. So I think ayahuasca was teaching me how to trust and be patient, because initially I was pretty frustrated and I felt like I didn't really get much, and everyone around me was like, in that week during ceremony, they felt like that they got what they needed, whereas mine has only come like weeks after, and I starting to notice like, oh, okay, maybe I received a lot more than I thought I did. And for me, it wasn't in ceremony that I had all these, like, I felt my anxiety leave my body, or I saw my anxiety in like a visual form and it left my body. For me, it wasn't like that at all, and I know for some people it can be like that, but it's more of a feeling within that I've noticed since being at home and back into my regular life. And what I find really interesting is like my life situations and my life hasn't changed at all, but within I feel really different. I don't feel like I've got the most friends in the world. I feel like I've been let down by a lot of people that are close to me. I'm really confused about my career and my direction in life when it comes to my job and my studies and like what I want to do as a career, and none of that has changed. Like every one of those life situations is still exactly the same, but I feel different about it. I used to get so bogged down and so depressed by that, and so anxious about the fact that I didn't know where I was going in life, and depressed that I feel so alone and lonely and stuff like that. But now none of that's changed circumstantially, but I don't feel affected by it anymore in the same way as I used to. So strange, isn't it? Ayahuasca is a weird thing, but magical and mystical and mysterious. It's just fascinating how a plant medicine can have these profound effects. And I have been in therapy for, I want to say like 10 years now, like a really long time. I feel like that 1 week has affected my mental health in a positive way, more so than my 10 years of therapy have. And that is a huge statement, and I'm not saying that therapy hasn't been effective for me, because I feel like I have grown so much and learned so much about myself and put a lot of things together and worked on myself and all that, so I'm not discrediting that, but I feel like in a sense of genuinely feeling different, that 1 week has affected me far more than therapy has. But I honestly feel like I got more out of that week than I have in 10 years of therapy, and I now understand why and how people say one ayahuasca ceremony can be like 10 or 20 years of therapy in one night, because that sounds like a huge statement to make, but I now understand it on like a feeling level. It feels really good. So what I found is that despite the fact that my life situations haven't changed, there is not that associated emotion tied up to those situations. Like before, certain things would make me feel highly anxious and highly depressed. I didn't really want to live. I know that sounds depressing. It is depressing. And I did talk about that a lot in my hospital video, so if you want to see more about my mental health journey, you can go there. Yeah, I feel like there's not that previously attached emotion to life situations. I almost feel like an observer of my own life, and I don't feel as subjectively in it. I feel more objective. And the only thing I can kind of like compare it to, almost like Buddhist monks. I don't know. This might be a weird comparison, but hear me out. They're just like the observer of their own lives. They're very detached, but not in a bad way. Life goes by, but they're just not as affected by it on an emotional level. And I feel like that. I genuinely feel like when I've struggled with meditation in the past, of being so in my mind and caught up in my thoughts, that it's so hard for me to bring myself back to the center. I almost feel now I'm back in that center and stuff's happening around me, but I'm not in it. It's really hard to explain. I just don't feel like there's those previously attached emotions to life situations, and I'm almost like taking a back seat and just observing things happen, and I'm like, yes, I am confused about my career. Yes, I don't have many friends and a lot of people close to me have let me down. But then it doesn't go that next step where it's like, that makes me feel really anxious. That makes me feel really lonely. That makes me feel really depressed. It's like, that's what it is. Those are my life circumstances right now. But I don't feel any sort of way about them. I'm like, yeah, it is what it is, and I trust that the answers will come to me, and in time things will work out the way they're meant to, and I'm okay with that. For me, that's a big deal, because I have not been okay with that for a really long time. Okay, let's talk about sleep for a second. So I mentioned in the last clip of this video, where I'm in a different outfit, that I have obviously struggled with sleep my whole life, and I feel like since partaking in ayahuasca, this has been a little bit different. When I first got back, I was originally going to sleep really quickly, really easily, and I was in a really good sleeping routine. I think that's from when I was traveling. I got into a better routine. I then had a few late nights FaceTiming my mum, who was in South Africa, and going to bed a bit too late, and now I feel like I've kind of thrown my routine a little bit, and I'm now falling asleep really late and then sleeping in longer than I would like to. This isolation thing doesn't help either. I feel like it's made me even more nocturnal than I usually am, and I'm usually like a night owl. However, what is different is before I would have two things that would predominantly kind of work together to keep me awake at night and cause me to have insomnia. It would be my mind would be racing with so many thoughts, but then the worst part of that was that it would make me feel highly anxious, and then that anxiety would just build and build and build, and I'd literally be lying there in bed with crippling anxiety keeping me awake for hours and hours on end. Whereas now I feel like my mind does still have like quite a lot of thoughts at night, but I do feel like it's more that I'm just not tired because I'm in a bad routine. It's not like I'm worrying about anything. So yet again, there's no longer that anxiety associated with the thoughts that's keeping me awake. And in my head, I'm like, I can deal with that, even though I'd like to be able to just fall asleep like that. I don't know if I'll ever be that sort of person, but I'm like, I can deal with that because that is so much better than having crippling anxiety keeping me awake. I'd rather just have, you know, my mind's thinking about things, I feel quite awake, but I'm not feeling anxious. But for now, I'm finding that, yeah, there's no anxiety keeping me awake at night. It's just the fact that I'm not tired. And so when you're not tired, your mind's switched on and you're thinking about things. So yeah, when it comes to sleep, I feel like I can't be like, yeah, I can automatically fall asleep like that, because I don't know if that's ever going to be the case. So that's just another interesting thing to note that kind of ties into the whole lack of anxiety and depression thing. Interesting times. Another thing I wanted to note is that I remember at my retreat at the start of the week, in one of the classes, they said by the end of the week, you'll probably be a lot more unbotherable, and you just won't get bothered by things that maybe usually would bother you, and you'll just be less affected by things in general. And I was like, wow, that's a pretty big statement to make, because there are a lot of things that bother me. I'm only human. But as time's gone on, I've kind of seen this to be quite true. I just feel like I'm less affected by things on an emotional level. It doesn't mean that I don't have a heart, and it doesn't mean that I'm not still a sensitive person and I'm still empathetic, because I feel like I am, deep down, I'm a sensitive soul. But I kind of feel like there are things that would have affected me or made me feel a certain way before that just don't have that same effect or control on me anymore. And I guess with my mental health as well, it kind of ties into what I was talking about with my anxiety and my depression. Like things that would usually make me feel highly anxious or really deeply depressed, it just doesn't make me feel like that anymore, and none of that's changed. It's just my emotions towards it have changed. I just don't have that same reaction or emotion attached to those things as I did before I did ayahuasca. Very strange, very bizarre. I can't quite figure it out, but I don't really feel the need to figure it out. It just is what it is, and I'm not going to question it, because it's a positive change, and I just feel so much more centered and calm and peaceful inside my mind. And I feel like my mind's been a really busy, loud, chaotic place over the years, and I feel like for the first time in so long, like I genuinely can't even remember the last time I felt this calm and peaceful within, and it's amazing. Speaking of change, I just had to go and change my memory card, so I'm sorry if the angle is a little bit different. And I just wanted to quickly talk about my depression for a second, because I feel like this is something that has really changed for me. A lot of my depression would stem from feeling lonely and alone and isolated, and as if no one really cared about me. And I genuinely felt a huge lack of solid relationships in my life, and I feel like for human survival, close social bonds is super important in life. Human beings are just not meant to be alone, and a lot of studies have been done about human beings and happiness and what factors into that and what affects a human being's happiness. And I know social connections and bonds are a huge part of that, and this also ties into like living longer. There was a study done about things that affect one's life expectancy and social connections, as well as obviously health, physical exercise, all that sort of stuff. But social connections actually influenced how long someone lives for, which I thought was really interesting. I think without that social connection and deep personal bonds with people, it can leave one feeling really lonely. And for me, loneliness was a huge trigger for my depression. And then I just felt constantly let down by certain people that were the closest to me, and that left me feeling even more alone and depressed. You feel lonely anyway, and then when you're lonely you feel depressed, and it was just like this whole vicious cycle. And then obviously you don't go out as much, or you don't participate in life as much, which then makes you feel more depressed, and then it makes you feel more anxious because things become foreign to you, and it's just like a whole vicious cycle of mental health. And I was trapped in that vicious cycle. I also feel like in life I haven't really found my tribe, and I have felt this for such a long time. I remember in year 7 and 8, like I had groups of friends. It almost felt like I was different to them in a way. Like I just felt like I hadn't found my people. And I remember my mum saying like, you know, when you get to like year 10 or 11, you know, you're more settled, you know, it'll probably be different. And then year 10 and 11 kind of came around, and I always had friends throughout school. I always had like a big group of friends, but I never fully felt like they were my people, in a sense that I felt like a deep, almost like soul level connection with them. And I think where I live as well, it's very like, I don't want to say snobby, but I feel like it's very much like mainstream vanilla people. Not vanilla in a sexual sense. I personally feel like I'm spiritual, and I'm a bit of a hippie, and I'm a bit of a arty-farty, I don't know, just a bit different, I guess. And when I was at my ayahuasca retreat, I genuinely felt part of a tribe, and I felt like I found my people. And I guess plant medicine and spiritual sort of retreats do bring those sort of people together. And I finally felt like I'd found people that were like-minded and people that were like me. Like, I feel like I would probably annoy or bore a lot of people because I want to talk about the universe and life and the meaning of life and spirituality and plant medicine and crystals and psychics and all that sort of stuff, which I totally understand is not everyone's cup of tea. So it is kind of harder when you're a bit different to find those sort of people that are like you. It's not the everyday person you come across in life. So I guess I always felt like I never fitted in, and I still feel like that to some extent, but I also know that this is not going to be my situation forever. I don't intend on staying where I live. I eventually want to move somewhere very different, but for now this is where I live, and I love it, and I feel grateful, and I feel blessed, but I also feel like my people are probably not going to be found here, and that is okay. I've come to terms with that. I feel like I've rambled on that for a really long time, but I wanted to talk about like where my depression stemmed from. And I think I've always felt this deeper feeling of not fitting in and not really connecting with people on that deep soul level. If I am with someone, either like romantically or as a friend, I feel like I have to, it's really important for me to connect, not just on a surface level, but a really deep like spiritual level as well. I'm not really interested in like casual dating or any of that, because I want to find like soul connections with people and human beings that you just like, I feel like I've known you in a past life. Those sort of really special, deep relationships. I love depth in people, and I find it so attractive. I just find a lot of people can be really shallow, and they're caught up in like materialism, and I have been that person in the past, don't get me wrong. I feel like I have definitely fallen into that trap, but now I'm starting to seek a deeper meaning in life and in my own life and about life in general, and it's really important for me to surround myself with people who are also on that same life path. Anyway, I went on a complete tangent there, and I'm sorry about that, but it kind of ties back into like my depression, and I feel like I just don't feel depressed anymore. I used to feel really alone, not necessarily just being physically alone, but even in a group of people, I would feel really alone within. And I haven't really been in a group of people, so I can't really talk about my social anxiety or any of that because we're all in isolation. So I haven't really tested that theory, but I never feel alone now. Like, I genuinely never feel alone. I really enjoy my own company. I feel more connected when I'm by myself, and I've kind of realized I'm a lot more introverted than I thought I was. I think that's changed because I feel like most of my life I've been very extroverted to the point where I had to be with people all the time. I like couldn't be by myself, and now it's like flipped, and it's like the opposite. Like, I enjoy being by myself. I love just putting some music on, doing some art, reading a book. Like, I really enjoy my own company, and I never feel lonely anymore. It wouldn't affect me like it has in the past to have few friends or not have these deep connections with people, because I kind of trust that it's going to happen in time and the right people will come along, and when I change my life and put myself in different situations and certain environments, I will meet those sort of people. So I don't feel stressed out by it anymore. I don't feel depressed or bogged down by it because I have a trust that it's going to happen. And I used to be that sort of person that I would have a friend over, and then when that friend would leave, I'd have another friend lined up to come over. So I literally had like back-to-back social interactions, and now that just exhausts me. I need my space, and that's something I've learned to value a lot, and I don't feel alone in that. I love it. I thrive when I'm doing my own little thing, my little aims thing. I really enjoy it. And I used to be, I think in past relationships, a very needy human being, and now I'm just like, I appreciate space and time so much. I think it's so healthy, and I can't wait, you know, for my future relationships. And I feel like when it comes to relationships, two halves don't make a whole, even though in mathematical terms they do. I think you both have to be like whole individuals on your own, and then you come together and it's just like this, you know, like it's just this enhanced level of wholeness. And I really understand that now. I feel like I value my own space so much. It's getting real hot in here. Rolling up the sleeves. I dated a guy a couple of years ago, and I'd always been the needy one in relationships in the past, and it was very interesting to date someone that was like the needy one. And I was the one having to ask for space, and I was the one having to ask for, you know, time and put up those boundaries. And that was like a complete role reversal for me. And only then did I really realize, okay, one, I feel like I've changed a lot and I've worked on myself a lot, but two, I really value my own space. And I think that's really important and a really profound realization and really powerful, because at the end of the day, you can only rely on yourself. So yeah, I know that was like a long tangent. Guess I've realized that I never feel alone anymore. And that's amazing, because loneliness was a massive trigger for my mental health. So yeah, that's a very, very powerful change that I have noticed as well. And I just find it really crazy that I haven't felt any anxiety or depression. It's been nearly 2 months since I drank ayahuasca. Like, anxiety and depression and mental health issues were literally a part of my everyday life for a really long time, and to just not have that for 2 months is a massive, massive change for me, a massive shift, and one that I've grown to really enjoy. So like, if it stays that way, like, that will be amazing. I'm not saying it necessarily will. I feel like this could be a temporary feeling, like afterglow effect. It could be long lasting. It could be a chemical change that's happened within me. I don't really know, but I do feel like there has been a change. I can only base it on how I'm feeling right now, and right now I'm feeling really good. I'm not really feeling any of my mental health issues that I have felt for 10 years. Even saying that out loud, like, it's crazy to me. What is my life? And I guess lastly, to wrap this video up, like, I know ayahuasca does change your brain chemistry, and I know mental health affects your brain chemistry, so I definitely feel like on a chemical level my brain is different. And even though during ceremony and during my week there and in my last few videos when I talk about the ceremony, I talk about being frustrated and confused and not much happening, which in ceremony I felt like nothing much happened for the most part. But I have realized as time has gone on that a lot more has changed within, and I feel like there's been a huge shift within me, and one that I could have not predicted at all in that week of Rhythmia. And I guess it just shows, like, to be patient, and they do say ayahuasca is the gift that keeps on giving, and as time goes on you do start having more realizations and noticing more changes. But I'll definitely keep you guys updated, because in the past few weeks I've noticed a huge change in myself, and other people have as well, and it's been really profound. I know you'll probably have watched my last few ayahuasca videos and have been expecting a different story and a different ceremony experience, and I was too. Don't you worry, I was not expecting it to be so minimal in regards to my actual in-ceremony experiences. But only now do I realize the effects have been great. They have definitely not been minimal, they have been profound, and I feel so thankful for that. I feel honestly so much gratitude, and I now feel like I can put that frustration and confusion behind me, because I feel like there is a reason for everything, and I understand it. I understand that reason. I feel like I was being taught patience and being taught how to trust. The ceremonies had a much greater impact on me than I gave them credit for at the time. Patience is huge. I have been a very impatient person in my life, and I feel like patience is massive and very important, and I've realized that now. And no, I didn't come face to face with my mental health issues in ceremony. I could not have predicted that this would be a change that would happen, but I'm not gonna lie and say I feel anxious and depressed, because I don't, and that feels pretty damn good. I'm sorry it's been a bit of a chatty one. I thought it was really important to make a separate video, like today's video, talking about what I've noticed change and how I've noticed a shift. So that officially wraps up my ayahuasca series, my ayahuasca diaries. I don't know what I'm gonna call this little set of videos, but I'll think of something. I really hope you guys have enjoyed hearing about my experience with ayahuasca for the first time, and my ceremonies and the effects and changes that I've noticed since partaking in ceremony. And I just feel like it's been such a journey, and it's been something that I've wanted to do for such a long time, and I feel really proud of myself that I was brave enough to do it, because I feel like it's something that a lot of people want to do, but the fear might get in the way. And in the past, my anxiety has literally gotten in the way of so many things. My anxiety had gotten to a point where even solo traveling was scary to me, and previously that has been something that has affected my health in a positive way. I love it. I find it liberating and freeing, and it became scary to me because I hadn't done it for a while, and my mental health was in a place where everything was scary to me. So traveling to the other end of the world by myself was absolutely frightening, and I feel like I did it anyway, and now it's not scary to me anymore. Like, it excites me again. I've refound my love for travel. If plant medicine's not your thing, go solo traveling, because you will learn more about yourself than you have in a very long time. And on that note, my camera is flashing, so it is time to go. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, and ring the bell if you don't want to miss any videos. And if you want to keep up to date with my everyday life, you can follow me on my Instagram. It's at Amy Grace with 3 E's. I'll have it here. So if you do want to follow my everyday your life, that is where you can do so. On that note, I'm gonna go, but I hope you guys are having a beautiful day. Don't forget to stay kind to each other and stay kind to yourselves. And I hope during this crazy time that you're doing all right, because we'll get through this together, and I love you and I appreciate you very, very much. And if you've made it to the end of this video, then wow. It's been a long series, it's been a long video, but if you've watched it all, then you're the real MVP, and I appreciate you very much, and you must be a very patient person. Maybe you don't even need to learn a lesson in patience like I did, because you're already really patient for sitting through all my blabber and chit chat, but I felt like it was something worth talking about. This is a pretty life-changing experience, and I think it would have been crazy of me not to share it with you guys. Yet again, if you guys have any comments or thoughts or questions, leave them down below. I might do a Q&A or something like that if there's enough of them. I'll catch you guys very soon in my next video. Bye!